Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I am so thrilled to be here with y'all. I hope you are knocking it out of the ballpark. I'm sure that you're enjoying the summer and that you're preparing for the upcoming school year. I know I don't want to say that too soon. I know we're still enjoying our summers. I'm so thankful for all of you that are in the field doing your thing, rocking it out. To all of you keynotes out there, those that are getting things published. I'm so honored to be a part of the tribe with you guys. Thank you to FCTM in Florida for the amazing conference. And thank you for the opportunity also to be published among you guys. And if you guys are looking for opportunities there, please reach out to FCTM. They do have opportunities for you to have your voice and your work amplified. Now, before we get started into this amazing episode, I do want to make some announcements with you guys. First things first, the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on Spotify and social media platforms. You can check out all of my wonderful social media platforms below. You've got Facebook, it's Miss India White. I promise y'all, okay, I'm going to get a hold of this eventually. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. My TikTok has really been doing very well lately. I'm super excited with all of the content that people have been sharing and things that I've been able to pour out and just share with you guys just across the globe with what we're doing together as a tribe, as we're remaining gritty and closing the achievement gap. I also want to remind you of my website. I love going on there and posting blogs for you guys, books. I do have a new one that I just launched not so long ago, and I will tell you guys about that sooner than later. But check out my website, www.india-white.com, for more blogs, books, and to schedule me for a speaking event, coaching event. Many of you district leaders have been reaching out to me. Thank you very much. I'm super excited, looking forward to training many of you guys on grit or on equitable practices, closing the achievement gap and beyond. Let's do this. Let's get in the trenches together. I also wanted to remind you guys of the new Grit mini workshop that I was able to have the opportunity to launch on the Grassroots Workshops website. Share it with a teacher. It's called How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. Thank you, Robert Kaplensky and Tribe, for that. It's called How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. I'm sure if you Googled the word grit or search for the word grit on the platform, you'll find it. Also, I wanted to remind you too that if you're wanting to be a part of this particular podcast, send me a photo and bio to india.white.123@gmail.com. Many of you have been very just wonderfully reaching out to me. Thank you so much for that. And I also wanted to remind you guys about some upcoming events, and then I'm going to bring on the next rock star. The next upcoming event I have for you guys is Camped Conference in July. I also have a keynote that I'll be doing in California in August. I'm super excited about that, to see you guys. I will be working with some other school districts in August as well. You know who you are. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Looking forward to meeting with you guys at NCSM. I will be there speaking. Thank you, NCSM, for the opportunity to be a major speaker. I think there's a lot that we will be discussing together. NCTM, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak among you, to be among you as well. ICTM, I'll be a featured speaker in Iowa. October, I'll see you guys speaking there, and I'll be at the ATMNE in October as well, and some other conferences that I have not listed because I think this was enough for now. However, if you do not see your organization and you're like, hey, I'd like for her to come and talk about grit, or talk about closing achievement gap, or what can we do to help our students, equitable practices, and how can we work through the muck and mire of all the different things that have been going on, reach out to me, okay? Again, my email is india.white.123@gmail.com. And so with that said, guys, I'm super thrilled to bring on an amazing guest who is a rock star in her own right, doing so many things across the nation, in particular in New Hampshire. She's the educational consultant. Please welcome with me to this platform, Ann Elise Record. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's so great to be with you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you on this platform. And for the rock stars listening, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I live here in New Hampshire. I'm an elementary focused math consultant, but I travel the country because I go wherever I'm hired to go. And yeah, I focus on math. So, but I live here in New Hampshire with my husband and our 5-year-old Marty McFly dog, who is just
Oh,
the best because both of our grown children upped and moved away to Wisconsin. So they now live in Wisconsin and
oh,
they're living their best lives and they're getting married and having families. But we had heard having a dog was a pretty cool relationship. We've only had cats our many, many years being together.
oh.
So we got our Marty McFly. So you might be hearing him bark occasionally if we get a delivery.
Well, it's okay. I'm sure he's precious. So, I personally, I have a pet turtle. So, he stays in his aquarium. His name's Theo, but it's good to know that, you have completed successfully that chapter of, raising your children. And now you're just raising the nation and helping to raise the nation fluency and education in the elementary space. So can you talk to us a little bit about just your whole journey and how did you get on this fluency track and how did you get there?
Yeah.
What motivated you to go in that direction?
Yeah. So I was, my undergraduate in college was sociology degree. So I was not certified to teach. So, but my husband became an elementary school counselor and I always have loved teaching. My parents are both educators, but I always kind of thought I want to be a teacher. But in the undergrad, I went like the sociology route, but I got my master's degree in order to teach and I'm certified K-8 and I taught grade 5 for 13 years. And then along the way, I went to a conference, a 2-day BER, Bureau of Education and Research conference. And there were literacy and math sessions and 3 different presenters. You can choose your sessions. And the first one I went to, I've always loved math the most. So I went to a session by Dr. Nikki Newton on math. And it was math in a way I had never seen it before. So I had been teaching algorithms and procedures the way I had learned it growing up myself. And she was showing me open number lines and area models and flexible strategies. And it literally was the first time I had seen any of this. And so I developed quite a passion for it of this flexible thinking and wanting to help all kids have access to mathematics. And we had hired her to come as a consultant to our district. And she doesn't like to drive. So she said she would just get a taxi. And I'm like, we're in northern New Hampshire, tiny little mill town. There are no taxis. So I drove her around all week. And that about 10 years ago, that began our close friendship and my mentorship with her. She's my mentor. She and Christina Tondeville, both, the two of them changed my life. And in Dr. Nikki's world, she wrote a book at that time called Math Running Records that hadn't even been published yet. And so I became a math coach in my district. And now I was working K-5 and I had to learn how do you teach children about, like in kindergarten, about the number 5, because I literally had no idea. But the Math Running Record, I took a webinar with her before her book came out and I was like, oh, this is the answer. I can help people to understand the research behind the early numeracy so we can talk to kids about their thinking, find out where they are on the trajectories, and then create catered instructional responses that build the identity and agency of all kids, as well as through the fat fluency, but it's not limited to those because they're connected to all the sets of numbers that they will encounter on their journeys, right? So it's more than just fat fluency. It's the idea of that flexible and efficient with numbers and number relationships.
Beautiful. Wow.
So yeah, so that just, it became a passion of mine. And then I created the Math Running Record Facebook group that I facilitate. We've got 17,000 people in that group. And
look at you guys rocking it out. I gotta go join that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, I want to say that your energy is contagious. I love how you spoke about numeracy. I love me some numeracy now. Okay, we can go there. And I love how you spoke about, fact fluency and just loving of the numbers for babies, because you're right. I mean, they're 5 years old. How are they supposed to, walk away loving math when some of them are still being potty trained, right? So talk to us about the grit it has taken for you to really continue this work. I mean, you said you were teaching at least 13 years and now you're consulting, and I know you are gritty, you are a go-getter, I can tell. How have you been able to, I guess, cultivate your own grit to continue moving forward in this work? Like what has done it for you?
Well, the reason why I became a consultant was because my husband got a new job and we were moving 2 hours south to Concord, New Hampshire, which is the main, the capital. And so then I didn't know what to do, because now I've been a teacher for 13 years, a math coach K-5 for 4 years. I'm expensive as a teacher. I'm now a veteran teacher, right? And also,
yes.
there were no math coaching positions down here. So if I wanted to go back to the classroom, I know my husband at one point was an administrator, and they were told, like, you can't look at anyone that's had more than 5 years experience because we can't afford them. And so to move down here,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to be able to find a job, right? And that's when Christina Tondevold, who runs a site called BuildMathMinds.com, she had at the beginning of her creating her own for pay PD site was like, you know what, I could use someone to make some videos in my site. And what do you think about going off on your own? And so it was Christina and Dr. Nikki who both, like, I never would have thought of going out on my own, but it was the two of them. I got connected through Nikki with BER. So now I present for Bureau of Education and Research. And Christina and I are still continuing to work together. I facilitate her Facebook group of over 77,000 people in it. So, you know, it was that, you know, that element of, I want to be a support for everyone out there. And I found social media to be a place that I found a community of people that are willing to talk about everything elementary mathematics. And having lived in the North Country, I had wonderful colleagues and friends, but I wanted to continue to learn and grow. And I found the most amazing community on like Twitter at the time, the elementary math chat community. Once a week we met, talk, you know, we still do. But so I was connected to these educators around the world that are just brilliant and kind and generous and sharing resources for free. That enabled me to kind of feel connected. And I think part of that grittiness of keeping going, because self-employment is not for the faint of heart. It's really not. And so I had to keep myself like connected to friends who are in the similar journey, and kind of run ideas by them. Like, what do you think? And what do you think? And to learn from each other. And I know Dr. Nikki always says we stand on the shoulder of giants. And I feel I'm on her shoulders. Like, I feel like I am. Yeah. There are so many people who have shaped my understanding of mathematics and I am continuing to learn and grow. I will never be done. It's the more I learn, the more I realize I have to learn. Wow. And so I have to keep that mindset that I just have to do the best I can. Like, I love Dr. Maya Angelou's quote that we do the best we can until you know more. And when you know more, you'll do better. And so that's right. I have to live by that because every day I learn new things. Right. So,
you know, I just love how you said, you know, you're just not going to give up. Like, you just know you have to keep going. And I think that, you know, many teachers wish they felt that way, but, you know, maybe some of them are also dealing with burnout, and they don't really know how to harness grit anymore to keep moving forward. Now, you had a switch in your career as well, which many people, you know, have aligned to that as well. They become consultants or they do something. And so with that said, what advice do you have for a teacher that they might want to venture out and do something like this, even if it's on the side, a higher level of self-efficacy? So maybe they're like, I don't know, not sure if I should do this or not.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start by moving one step forward. You got to start, right? And so for me, you know, making connections online, that was really helpful. And even to reaching out to other people who have gone this road. So Robert Kaplinski has a wonderful Facebook group for educational consultants, people interested in that. It's a wealth of people that are willing to share their ideas for anything you can imagine. It's just a space you can go to post a question, and then you'll get lots of responses.
Robert's just amazing. Yeah. Robert is just amazing. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so it's truly like if there's any question that you have of even how to get started, a question like that's a place to post that kind of a question of how can you do it? Because I feel so incredibly fortunate that, you know, Christina offered me an opportunity where I was making a monthly salary from her to make the videos for her site.
That's so awesome.
Right. And then Dr. Nikki gave me the connection to the program manager at her at Bureau of Education and Research, where I initially met her. And then I began making my own seminar that got tried out. And I went around the country before COVID. And so when you're in a hotel room presenting to a conference full of people, at least one person, you know, might think, hey, we want to have her come back to our school. And then you get hired privately. And so that built my consulting base. And the more that starts, the more it connects. Right. And so going to conferences and presenting sessions, like that's the biggest step forward. So I know for me right now, I am strongly motivated to want to move to Wisconsin because my children are, my daughter got married last summer and our son is getting married this September. It's 2024 right now. And so grandchildren are coming at some point, hopefully. And we have 3 bonus grandchildren already that are in Wisconsin. So I want to live in Wisconsin where our amazing children live and be a part of their lives. And so I need to get like consulting work in Wisconsin. So I have presented at the Wisconsin Math Council the last few years because that's a place where I want to do some work. So for someone who's wanting maybe to venture out and try this, I would say reach out to the local state affiliates of like NCTM. Every state has an affiliate for NCTM. We here in New Hampshire are called the New Hampshire Teachers of Math. And we also are connected with the New England Teachers of Math. So we're so thrilled to have you coming here in October. I'm the program chair together with Brendan Scribner. We're together making this program, and to have you be coming here and elevating your voice among so many other incredible people. We've got the new NCTM president coming up, and Dr. Rachel Lambert, who is unbelievable. Her new book, Rethinking Disability in Mathematics, I think is brilliant and needs to be read by every teacher and every pre-service teacher. I just think it's so important. We have her as a keynote coming too. So, but among many other people that are just, it's incredible. So, being able to propose sessions and then get a chance to present, get your feet wet, it spreads your knowledge and then you can start off in that way. But
you are spot on with what you're saying. And I think, maybe this show is for those teachers that are desiring to get their voice out there, to do a presentation. Maybe they're experts. I know some teachers I've, spoken to, and I'm like, you really should be on the stage. Like, I don't know why you're hiding. We need to get you out here. And I love that. I love launching people, like helping to amplify them, like even people like you. I think it's amazing that you have so many rock stars coming to that conference. That's going to be a hot conference.
It's going to be amazing. Yes.
I've never been to the area before. And
fantastic.
So you got to show me the way. I don't know anything. I hope to do maybe a book signing, maybe whatever.
Absolutely. Yes, we've got so many. Yeah, we definitely are interested in doing that. We got so many authors coming. To offer a book signing would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'll be in touch for that for sure. But I love your confidence. I like that you said I am an expert. And I think that, when people are trying to find grit, sometimes they deal with imposter syndrome, right? Of, I don't know. I mean, I'm an expert, but somebody else out there is, they've been in the ring 30 years. Who am I? How do you help, a teacher, maybe they've only been in it 10, 15 years, to feel like, okay, you might not be, creator almighty where you know everything, but you can still contribute. Like, what advice do you have for them?
Well, actually, I don't call myself an expert.
I call you an expert.
I just want to be clear. I didn't call myself an expert because I know.
So guys listening, see, she's one that I'm talking about. It tries to hide. So we need to highlight this name. I'm going to put her name back on the screen so that, to bring her to your conferences and your school districts that she's trying to hide from us. So she has been spotted. So
I know that I am on a journey, and I'm welcoming people to join the journey with me. And I've been on the journey longer than some people. So I do know more, but I think this happens in our classroom as well, is that students begin thinking that the teachers are the experts and that there's someone I can go to who knows it all. And we don't know it all. So there are, the more I've learned about elementary math, the more I realize I've got to learn so much more about dyscalculia, and certainly Dr. Rachel Lambert's book on disabilities, like our students that are neurodiverse. Like, I've got to learn more about that. So I'm not going to have an answer for every question someone asks me, right? But I do honor the fact that I've been on this journey and just doing this for the last 6 years as a consultant, which means I don't have report cards to do. I don't have parents to talk to. I'm not dealing with student behaviors. So I've been able to just focus on this, which is why I know more. It's not because I am a better mather than someone else, right? It's just that I've had the experiences, which I think is parallel to this journey of our students. Our students need experiences to build their understandings. It's not that any brains can learn math easier than others. There's no math brain. It's the opportunities to create those neural pathways to practice and own and understand things. And that I live by that, right? So I do want to make sure that when I'm speaking with people, it's like, I don't know everything, but I know a lot. I mean, I'm not going to deny I know a lot, but I remember Dr. Nikki and I were talking one day about, when you go to when I went to a store growing up, there were these little rides out front that you put like a coin in it. You get to ride the ride.
Yeah.
But then one day I went to Disney World with my junior high chorus, and like the word ride took on a whole new meaning. Like there's a whole Disney World of rides.
Oh yeah.
And I love Disney. My family's very passionate Disney lovers. We've been there over 50 times.
I have never been to Disney.
Oh my gosh, India, come on. All right. So next year I'll come to FCTM and we will go to Disney. Come on.
Good. Hey, we're already planning it. It.
Absolutely. June 10th, 12th.
We'll bring Howie back. We'll bring some others back. And we'll
absolutely. No question. The mathers will take on Disney World. I love it.
Yeah.
But so I liken that to when I first learned about the early numeracy, the development of children with mathematics from even before kindergarten, like birth to kindergarten, it's a Disney World of knowledge down there. And I honestly say I had no appreciation for that. I was like a fifth grade teacher living in my fifth grade world of my standards and thinking, well, how hard could it be in first grade to teach that, 2 and 2 is a 4? Well, now I have a greater appreciation for so much expertise is needed in the early mathematic years, right? So I feel like was that, you're adding some facts together, but there's a whole world of the thinking and reasoning, and we create that foundation of understanding that will follow these kids, and most importantly, build their identities and their agencies, right? To build their belief in themselves, that they believe that they can solve math, that we as teachers believe every student can think mathematically, and to build their agency, that they can show us with their actions that they have a part in their own learning. They can grab for a math tool. It's not going to be frowned upon. I would love manipulatives to be within arm's reach of every single student at all times, at all grades.
Agreed.
Right? It is a choice to enter a task concretely, and I'm going to connect it to pictures and abstract numbers, but it's a valid choice, and we shouldn't be thinking, it's only for certain kids, or if you need it, you have it. No, it is right there. And all of that agency that the kids have a part of it. It's not a passively listening to what a teacher tells them how to do things that they mimic back. Right?
Oh my God.
It's so much
more. You're inspiring me. You need to come speak somewhere.
Well, as turns out, I'm presenting next week at the Building Thinking Classrooms Conference. And I'll be presenting alongside you at Camp in July in Texas, in Houston.
Tell Peter, send my love to Peter and the tribe. Oh my gosh, I know it's going to be amazing.
Next year is Seattle. That's far away from me in New Hampshire. That's a long.
Well, we've got to plan it. Maybe we can do a session together or something. We'll get there. So I'd love that. We can talk about grit and fluency or something.
Right.
But, there's always space for that, right? So listen, you have truly inspired me in this. I love how you're so humble, but yet so competent, so knowledgeable. And you said something that really resonated with me regarding building their sense of identity. So the whole goal behind fluency is not just the fluency piece itself. It's to build the identity and the confidence of that student. Wow. If teachers would come into the classroom thinking, I am between you and your self-worth, your identity, your confidence, and the way I deliver math instruction and convince you of the math and show you the fluency, that is going to then carry over into your identity, your personality, your confidence as a mather. That is powerful. And I think that sometimes teachers just get caught up with the standards and all the muck and the mire, the textbook, everything. And they're like, I just don't know what I need to do here. I'm overwhelmed. And they're not seeing the big picture, that they are literally a part of molding that student's identity as a mathematician.
Yeah,
that absolutely. Is powerful. So how do you help teachers cultivate grit when they are feeling overwhelmed and they're feeling just so cumbersome with all of the work and the textbook and the new standards and the new lesson plans and the pacing guides and the assessment that's due in the 2 weeks? how do you help a teacher in that to keep moving forward and to persevere no matter what through grit?
Yeah. Well, there's so many thoughts in my mind right now. I want to kind of focus. So first of all, I think it's the education of all of us on what elementary mathematics is. I know I didn't have an appreciation for it. The only way I knew to solve problems was algorithms. That's all how I grew up learning it. And so I think a lot of what I do in my role as a consultant is, number one, to help build the math minds of the teachers, particularly the primary grade level teachers that I meet. They didn't go into teaching primary grades because of their love of math. Like a lot of them love literacy, right? And so they'll tell me, well, I don't want to teach upper elementary. I don't want to deal with that math because they have their own elements of not having enjoyed math when they were young. And so I hear math stories all the time. Wherever I go, I ask my Uber drivers, I ask grocery store clerks, everyone I meet, I ask them, what's their math story? And I hear probably about 80% of people that I meet have very negative connotations and emotions.
That's where Vanessa comes in, the math guru.
The math trauma is absolutely right. So it's about honoring people's journeys having learned math, and that many people leave the math highway either at multiplication math facts because they weren't able to memorize those facts the way it was expected when they were young, or it was fractions.
Yeah.
Or it was algebra when letters arrived. Right? Like I hear, I was good
geometry.
at math until, and it's always something that made them leave the math highway, right? So how do you make it be a connected journey that all students can find themselves in and provide opportunity and access for all of our kids? Because too often kids are incorrectly labeled. I interview a lot of kids with the Math Running Record, Dr. Nikki's interview protocol, and I can't tell you how many kids that a teacher told me that this student was the lowest of the low, a fifth grader. Now, I don't use terms like low and high anymore. Yeah, I know exactly, right? She said lowest of the low. He had been her
so
student.
Much wrong with that conversation.
Yeah, so much wrong. Can't even begin, right?
I know. I'm like, I have to stop, right?
Right, I know. And he had been her student for months. He was becoming a behavior challenge. She was referring him for special needs testing.
Was he a behavior challenge, or was there a lack of relationship? There's so much there, right?
So much there. So he comes in the room. I'm modeling the running record for 10 teachers. And I get early on in the multiplication one is the fives, because 2s, 5s, and 10s are our foundational facts. We can derive other ones using those. So I asked him not. I said, great. And as always, it's an interview about their thinking. And I'm always mindful, did they use counting? Did they use additive? Or did they use multiplicative reasoning? It's just about them knowing the facts or not knowing the facts. It's like when they don't know a fact, how are they figuring it out? Are they using counting thinking? Are they using additive reasoning? Or is it multiplicative reasoning? And I will find students a lot going back into skip counting. And that's the only way they have to solve one that they don't know. But that's additive thinking. It's not multiplicative reasoning, right? So it's about their thinking.
Yeah. See, Jennifer Bay Williams just knocked this out of the ballpark at FCTM as one of our featured speakers. And she spoke about this. She's a fluency queen. Shout out to you, Jennifer Bay Williams. And so what you're saying, I think it really resonates with just this whole discussion of we've got to challenge our kids to do more than just skip counting. Like we need to dive into that conceptual understanding of the concepts. And that takes grit, because students want to settle with the skip counting on, okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, but what about the knowledge behind why it is this way? What is not just the rule, but understanding it conceptually, the whole package. So how do you help students with that when, to develop grit? How do you help them to cultivate that grit to keep going when they get frustrated, when they have to put down the convenience and really show that they are proficient in their conceptual understanding of a topic?
Yeah. Well, if I can just finish the story for a second about the young man for getting the 45, he went, I know half of 9 is 4.5, and that times 10 is 45.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
And at the moment, I was like, what did he just do? Right? Well, he was double and halving, and I was helping students do double and halving in their 4th grade classroom, 5th grade classrooms. But I was telling students as a math coach, you can only use that when you have even numbers. Because that's where I was in my math journey. And this young man, who's 5th grade teacher, thought he was the lowest of the low, taught me that day that you can double and have anything, right? You get some wonky numbers sometimes, right? So, I mean, it's just, that would be a student whose teacher thinks she has to have him drill and kill some more facts. He doesn't know any facts. But you talk to him and you're like, he doesn't need work on that. His thinking and reasoning is unbelievable. But so many kids that I meet also on the other end in terms of having developed that mastery of the facts, they have no depth of understanding. I asked them an extra fact of like, I didn't learn that one yet, right? So it's about knowing where all of our students are with the authentic data of the thinking of their of the facts, right? Yeah. And that's when you ask, what do we do to help the kids? Well, that's why we've written our 2 books.
Which is amazing. So yeah, you got to talk to us about these books. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So these guys, let's listen about these books. So she's got some new books out here. Fluency doesn't just happen. I know Jennifer Bay Williams needs to hear this podcast. Talk to us about this, and talk to us about it.
Yes. So I just absolutely want to honor Jenny Bay Williams is one of my favorite people in the world. She is just the kindest, most brilliant woman. And I love her to pieces. And with anything of writing books, you want to add to the conversation. Like, I think she and John Sangiovanni's Figuring Out Fluency is the gold standard of fluency books because it's kindergarten to 8th grade, right? It's not limited to basic facts. Right. It's the whole spectrum of, it's not just basic facts. It connects to the fractions and decimals and integers as an entire journey of building flexibility, efficiency, and accuracy, right? And the relative speedness is a byproduct of being flexible and efficient. If I'm moving beyond skip counting to multiply by a 9, so I know I can do 10 groups and take away a group, well, that extends to anything that has a 9 in the ones place. I could do 29 times something by doing 30 and taking away one group, right? Or 99 times 5. Yeah. Right. I could do 100 fives is 500, take away a 5 and I'm there. Right. So providing opportunities for all students to have these flexible ways of figuring them out. And what Allison and Nikki and I wanted to add to the conversation was the concrete pictorial abstract representations. How can we explicitly model the number relationships in concrete pictorial and abstract ways that provide that multimodality for our students to have that depth of understanding of these relationships? How do we move the students in the adding and subtracting world from the counting into additive reasoning? Too many of our students get locked into the counting on. That's where they stay. Because as our teachers go on to double-digit, triple-digit work, very often that's being done earlier than the 4th grade standard that it is in most states. It's being done in like grade 1 and 2 of the algorithm. But the algorithm is just basic facts, and the kids don't know their facts, so they count on or count back to figure out those facts. We want to do a larger,
So I want to say this is amazing, and for all of you fluency gurus out there, I know y'all are loving this podcast. But the one question I asked Jenny this too: what about the teacher or the parent that is about skip counting and about well, we did it this way when I was growing up. Right. And I don't understand that you can divide it by 2 and multiply by 10. You know, I'm not thinking that way. I'm just trying to do something quick for you so you can pass this exam, because you're going to have pushback, right? And usually it's coming not necessarily from the educator. It's coming from other voices outside of the classroom. What advice do you have for teachers to kind of remain gritty and to still help parents with that understanding as well as they're trying to incorporate fluency in their classrooms?
So first, we need to make sure that everyone in our school buildings and all the families understand math is not just about getting right answers. Right. It's about problem solving and thinking and reasoning. So if I'm thinking and reasoning, I can solve many more things. The goal is not to develop automaticity. That's why I say that the automaticity byproduct of being flexible and efficient. If I'm flexible and efficient, I'll be more accurate and I will get my answer faster. Then if I'm going down those inefficient routes of counting on and counting back or the skip counting, right? But I think a lot of it also is parents just don't know. Because if you think about it, so many people that I meet, literally 80% people that I meet, even teachers that I meet, have negative experiences having learned math. So there's a trauma happening there. There's these emotions still deep down that are associated, because people thought that they weren't as intelligent. They didn't have that math brain, right? So we need to honor that and be able to know that if an adult who gets to that point, who they've chosen not to take math classes, they haven't taken it in college. Now they have a 6-year-old child and they can't even help them with math. It's an emotional human response to be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like,
but that is the reality of many families. That has been, and being in the education space, when you're dealing with parents, sometimes parents are like, listen, I've been working 24/7. I've been on the road. I've not seen math in 20 years. Like, what is this?
So
I'm going to do,
the key is family math nights. The key is welcoming our families into our schools and having them enjoy mathematics with their children, joyful interactions of math. Too often we are sending homework and the parents don't know what these representations are, like open number lines, area models. They can't help their child. So if a child is doing homework at night that they don't confidently know how to do yet, the parent loves their child and wants to be able to help them, but they can't. So we need to fix that, right? We need to welcome the families in and show them visually, for all of our brains having a visual part of our brain. It's not about, oh, I doubled and halved, and it just lives out in space. No, I want to show you an area model. I want to build it with 1-inch tiles. I want to show it to you in a rectangular area model, right? Like it's making it visual of why that's working. And now I can apply it to all sets of other numbers. So when I do family math nights for the districts that I work with, I give like a 30-minute presentation to the parents, and it's all about, this is the why. The parents have to understand the why, because once at the end of that 30 minutes, those parents are like, what can I do to help? This makes so much sense. If I had learned it this way as a kid, I wouldn't feel the way I do about math. That's the key. And how can we have the parents involved? So for me, homework ought to be playing games with math facts, because it is an epidemic of kids not knowing their facts per se, right? They don't know their facts. So let's have the families play games at home, have joyful interactions of math, but also, I've got a math running record. I can tell you exactly where your child is. They are adding within 10 right now, and right now they're counting on. I want to help them learn about decomposition of pairs of numbers, that an 8 can be a 6 and a 2 and a 5 and a 3 and a 4 and a 4. So when I ask you 6 plus 2, you say 8, because it's one way you make an 8, and you're not counting on, right? So I can be sharing that information with the families, and they can give purposeful practice targeted to the zone a child's in, move them along the journey. It's a win-win. We're a team team of people with that child facilitating a learning journey.
And that's right. It's a team, and it takes a village, and it takes grit, because to put on a family night and then to be consistent with a practice like this. So all of you principals, educators, coaches, instructional support staff, whatever, understand that this is wonderful, but it definitely will take implementing this with fidelity and consistency. Having maybe at least 2 to 4 parent nights a year would be, I think more ideal than just having a one and done. Because this, and definitely I think towards the beginning of the year, maybe like an open house / family night, math night, something like that, because, it is imperative that, these students understand, fluency, but that they also develop their math identity as mathers. So talk to us a little bit more about just what inspired you, Rockstars, to write this book. I've heard so much about Dr. Nikki and Allison, who I met in North Dakota, and yourself. Talk to the audience about this book, and what was the goal that you all had when you wrote this book?
Yeah. So the math running record was the catalyst in terms of, we can talk to students in less than 10 minutes, find out exactly where they need to begin working, but then what? How do I actually go to that journey to help them build their mastery of the facts and their understanding of the flexibility and efficiency? So our book is meant to be that practical next step. Once you have a sense of where your students are, well, now you can go to our book, and we've got sets of ideas, concrete, pictorial, abstract, story problems, modeling of the facts, daily routines, classroom vignettes, all the kind of things that, if I know I've got some kids working on the doubles plus one strategy, I can go to doubles plus one chapter and see a whole plethora of ideas of what is the thinking behind it. And then what are some practical ideas I can have in a workstation that gives the kids the purposeful practice. There's a little quiz you can give when you feel the student is ready, or when the student feels they're ready to move on. In incorporating the students on this journey, that the students can know where they are on the journey of the mastery of the facts. And I want to be absolutely clear. This is between the teacher, the student, and the family. It is not for anyone else's business. There should not be any bulletin board of where kids are on that fact journey. Those walls of fame are the walls of shame for so many people. They're 50 years old driving me in an Uber in Philadelphia, and I'm asking about a math story, and they tell me about the bulletin board in third grade because theirs was the car that didn't go on that track, or theirs was the hot air balloon that didn't go up in the sky, or what I think is the most cruel, the ice cream scoops. And I know it's well-intentioned. Can you
elaborate on that for those that, are watching?
Yeah. So traditionally, which still happens today, there are bulletin boards that show, well, these kids are working on their times 2s and their times 5s and their times 10s. And it shows like a trajectory from the, foundational, easier facts to the hardest ones. And when you master a new set of facts, you get to earn an extra ice cream scoop. And so as you are learning more of your facts, you're earning more scoops or more toppings for your sundae. And then what I see a lot of people share is at the end of the year, students are able to actually eat the sundae that they earned over the course of the year. So it's possible that one student is having 1 scoop of ice cream and someone else is having that scoop of ice cream with hot fudge sauce and peanut butter sauce and M&Ms and sprinkles and whipped cream and a cherry on top because they were able to master all their math facts. So we're not honoring all of our students that they bring to the table.
That definitely should be done in secret, and it should not be, like you said, out in the open. I do think there should be a wall of recognition where, like a money system wall, but it does not compare long periods of time where I compare student A to student B for the entire year. I think it's more of a one and done. You got this on the quiz, you got that on the test, you got that homework assignment completed, you brought up your achievement here, but it does not, it's not like a competitive, like every single day you're seeing the trajectory of this student versus that. That does need to be done behind closed doors, but it should not be ice cream scoops. I don't think should be tailored to that because if you have a learning disability, if you have been labeled as such by a doctor and maybe you have a 504 plan or something like that, it is what it is. That means that therefore, if you're labeled with, okay, I have a 504 plan, I need more time, I need extended time, and this student has been labeled gifted, we're going to have some different ice cream scoops going on in there. So I do see how that could create an environment where students that, have some type of learning disability that they are thriving in, because they can still thrive with it, that even though they have these set of parameters that's going to help them learn better, that would be an inequitable practice to have ice cream scoops because it's causing that emotional tear for students. I think that's sad. And I'm happy we're exposing that. I don't think teachers meant any harm, but I think that what we can do is we can fix it. We can, instead of doing ice cream scoops on the whole proficiency of a learner throughout the year, maybe doing a ticket for everyone that, got a gain, or everyone that got at least 70% on the quiz, something like that, like where it's fair and it's a one and done versus a whole. Like I just think that that doesn't sit well. And and I'm happy that you're exposing this because when we know more, right, and we know better, we do better. So I think this is a good step in the right direction for educators.
Yeah. And I want to think also about the young boy that I met. I think it comes down to how we're defining fluency. And a lot of people define fluency as speed and accuracy only, which is why they think time tests are an appropriate assessment for whether they know their facts. But that's not an equitable. That's not attending to all the elements of fluency. So where is that young man who's taking forever to tell me that 9 on that bulletin board, right? He wouldn't be getting things fast and accurate, but yet his thinking and reasoning is arguably the best thinking and reasoning I've heard from a 5th grader. He was double and halving with a 9 going to a decimal and 4.5 having a shifting place value position to 45, not in adding a 0, right? Like his thinking was unbelievable. And I would not have known that unless I had talked to this young man, right? The teacher has not talked to him to know that. So unfortunately, those well-intended bulletin boards, I think are the thought is it'll intrinsically motivate the kids to want to learn them so that they can earn more scoops of ice cream.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's actually doing. It's causing a lot of internal strife among the
kids.
And
I want to say something. Yeah. I want to say something. I am for intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. I am big for it. Research has shown that you need both, but it's how you implement it. Yes. So the ice cream scoop idea, implementing that for the entire year, comparing all students in the board, I don't think that's great for students to see. I think that if you want to do a data wall separate between administrators and teachers, where you know the data of students and how they're doing, so that you as educators and leaders can come together and figure out what next practices need to be implemented to help students to achieve proficiency and to show improvement and to make gains. That's one conversation. But to actually display it like we spoke about, it would not be a good idea. So I think that this is great that you guys have this book coming out and that you're sharing your wealth of knowledge and fluency. I can't wait to meet Dr. Nikki and some of the other rock stars that you have mentioned here in this podcast. And so with that said, we could literally go all day talking about this. This has been incredible. However, I want the audience to be able to know where can they go to find this new book called Fluency Doesn't Just Happen.
Yes. So there are two. There's the Adding is Attracting. This has been out since 2019.
Okay.
And what I love is Dr. Nikki has written over 45 books by now. It's probably 50 by today. She just is prolific.
That's amazing.
But these are the only two that actually have her picture on the cover. So that's Dr. Nikki. And she's just my close mentor and my mentor and my close friend.
And you did say she's a part of Black Women in Math as well, right?
Yeah, she sure is. Yep. And she'll be at the CAMP conference in Houston next month.
So I'll be looking out for her there. You guys, if you're going to be at camp, let's look for her. Let's celebrate her and celebrate her work. Definitely. Excellent.
Definitely. So they're published through Routledge. And so you can go onto the Routledge site and before September 30th, you can use a code AFLY, FLY02. And that will give you 20% off of the book. Awesome. So, and then on multiplication and division, we've been working on that since the first one was finished, and it just came out like 2 weeks ago. So it's super exciting that it's finally in our hands. It's now
congratulations.
Done. Yeah, it's super, super exciting.
That's amazing. Okay. And so now if somebody is wanting you to come into their district, do some fluency work, they're wanting to reach out to you to come speak at their conferences and things like that, where can they reach you?
Yeah. Well, first, I do want to mention that, I do everything elementary mathematics. So fluency is a passion of mine, obviously. Yeah. But I also love problem solving and knowing all the CGI problem types, to know there are 15 kinds of single step problems for addition and subtraction. Like, I never knew that. And it's in my world in grade 5, it's just fractions and multi-digit numbers. But also, I've really been loving Build and Thinking Classrooms. Peter Liljedahl's work of Build and Thinking Classrooms. And how do we, all the math practices come to life when they're in a classroom like that. So I don't just do consulting on fluency. Like, I do everything elementary mathematics and building identities and agencies of the teachers as well as the kids, right? Awesome. But I do have my website, anneliserecord.com. You can find me on all the social media platforms I'm Facebook is kind of my home. I facilitate, the Build Math Minds Facebook group and the Math Running Records one. I have one called Elementary Math with Ann Elise. So I facilitate those. And I only post math things on that profile. You'll see the picture is a growth mindset tree. Whereas a Facebook of a picture of my husband and I, like, you're going to see pictures of my dog and my family. But the other one is just math postings. So you can always reach out to me at my email me anytime. And reach out to me. I'm on social media a lot because that's where I have found my community of people to continue to learn from. It's my own professional development, right? I scroll through my feed, all math things. So but I am coming up. I'll be at camp next month. I'm a featured speaker there. I'm presenting 3 times. And then I'll also be at the Build and Thinking Classrooms. If you probably won't see this by then. This is going to be this coming. I'm leaving today to go. That's next week. But I also present for BER. So the BER, Bureau of Education and Research, I have a seminar on there and going into next year as well. So you can always be finding me. I'm always there. Well, I'm willing to talk math with anybody at any time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ann Elise, for being a part of the Let's Get Gritty podcast, guys. There you have it. Phenomenal episode here for all of you mathers, you rock stars out here that wanted to know a little bit more, especially our K-5 audience. I hope you enjoyed this. And so with that said, I'm going to make some announcements. First things first, again, this episode will be featured on Spotify and all of the social media platforms. So look out for that. It'll be featured at the beginning of July. Also, I want to have you guys check out also my website, www.india-white, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for any way I can support you guys in the field. Check out social media platforms. I have the Facebook, Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. Check both of us out at Camp's Conference in July. Ann just said she'll be at Building Thinking Classrooms. Y'all rock it out over there.
Yeah, be in Phoenix. It's going to be a little hot.
In Phoenix.
They say it's going to be 115.
My gosh, that's amazing. And then after that, we'll be gearing up for NCSM. We'll be gearing up for NCTM, ICTM, OCTM, ATMNE, and then the conference with you, Ann, is the...
So that's the ATMNE conference, that last one there. That's the New England math teachers. So all our New England states gather together. And this year is New Hampshire's turn to host it. So we'll be in Nashua, New Hampshire at the end of October.
Awesome. So I can't wait to see you and see the crew over there. And no matter what you guys do, take this episode, share it with the teacher. Again, share all the great things that you're doing and how you're remaining gritty, because, you know, we're a tribe. We need each other. We're in this together. Thank you so much again for coming to the Let's Get Gritty podcast. Until next time, stay gritty. See you guys. And thank you, Ann, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. What a treat.